Hi there, Dominic Steele, and a daily Bible time today, and thinking who to marry. What is God's guidance on who to marry? Well, firstly, you do need to say, when you think about who to marry, is that you just can't walk along the shops and pick someone. There's somebody else involved who needs to choose you as well. But who should you choose to marry? Well, it flows out of the definition of marriage, and Christopher Ash, in his book Sex in the Service of God, has really helpfully summarized the scriptures, saying marriage is the voluntary sexual and public social union of one man and one woman from different families. The union is patterned on the union of God with his people, his bride, the Christ with his church, and intrinsic to this union is God's call to lifelong, exclusive sexual faithfulness. That's Christopher Ash. So flowing from that, I would be arguing who you should marry would be somebody of the opposite sex. That is God's position. Jesus says it. Mark chapter 10, Ash summarizes it. Marriage is the voluntary sexual and public social union of one man and one woman. Secondly, not of the same family. Again, I'm coming here out of Leviticus 18, 6-18, and Ash's definition has from different families. The person I marry should not be from the same family as me, and you can see Leviticus 18 spelling that out. Thirdly, Christian. As far as it's up to you, your spouse should be Christian, and the widow is free to marry who she chooses. There's no arranged marriage for her. There's been no betrothal made when she was young, so 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 39, a wife is bound as long as her husband is living, but if her husband dies, she's free to be married to anyone she wants, only in the Lord. We are free to marry when we're free to marry. We're only to marry in the Lord. And fourthly on the list, I've written able to marry. There are some you won't marry because they're already married to somebody else. There are some you won't marry because they're too young. So, that's still quite a big pool of people. Who should I marry? Well, there's still quite a choice. How do you decide? I had one friend of mine, he just said, you just know. Well, you just know. Your heart tells you. That seems to me to be a totally inadequate answer. What does the Bible say? Here's a few thoughts. Well, one of the thoughts the Bible gives you is you want to rule the earth together, rule God's earth together in godliness. I'm thinking Proverbs 31, Ephesians 5. You want to be a couple who rule God's earth together in godliness. And the Bible has things to say about that. The task of the husband is to present the wife as holy on the last day. Well, how can he do that if he's not heading to holiness himself? And actually the task of presenting your wife holy will be made immeasurably easier if she wants to go to holiness. So as a potential husband, who do I pick? Somebody who I could conceivably lead to holiness. And as a potential wife, who would I pick? Well, somebody who could conceivably lead me to holiness. So a godly husband, a good husband, is somebody who will be Christ-like, somebody who will lay down their life for their wife. Does he relate to others in a Christ-like way? Is he of a Christ-like servant character? And a godly wife, a good wife, is somebody who will respond with appropriate submission, that you could lead in godliness. And there are things said in Proverbs, particularly Proverbs 31, about a wife of noble character. Secondly, companionship. One of the biblical purposes of marriage is companionship. Now, I don't think it would be a sin to marry somebody you couldn't speak their language, but I think it'd be easier to be a companion if you could converse with them. And I'd go a step further. Do you like conversing with them? Would I like to speak to them? Would I like to listen to them? Can I conceive of lots of conversing? And thirdly, if another tenet that the Bible gives is exclusive sexual faithfulness, the idea, do you like the idea of having sex with them? If marriage is to be a friendship, companion relationship, but also an erotic relationship, I'm thinking Proverbs 5:19, a loving deer, a graceful deer, may her breast satisfy you always, may you ever be captivated by her love. So trying to work out, is she the one, is he the one? Opposite sex, yes. Not a close relative, yes. Christian, yes. Able to marry, Christ-like servant leadership, godly submission, yes. Friends, yes. And sex, well, do you want to have sex with them? Do you want to be intimate with them? Do you want to be erotic with them? If you don't, then don't. Anyway, there's a few thoughts about how to pick who to marry. Thanks for joining us on Daily Bible Time today, and we'll continue this little journey through the issues of 1 Corinthians 7 on Monday. Do click like if you got to the end, or write amen in the post. Thanks for being with us.